Hey everyone, and welcome back to our story corner. Today I've got a really special tale for you, one that's close to my heart. It's about a little hero who teaches us one of life's most important lessons. So get comfy and let's dive into the world of a very determined little turtle. In a lush green forest where sunbeams danced through the leaves and the air was filled with the sweet scent of pine, lived a little turtle named Timo. Timo wasn't like the other turtles. While they were content to munch on clover near the pond, Timo's eyes were always fixed on something far away, something grand. It was the highest hill in the forest, a majestic peak that seemed to touch the clouds. Timo dreamed of what it would be like to stand on that summit. He imagined seeing the whole world spread out before him, the winding river shimmering like a silver ribbon, the endless canopy of trees looking like a soft green blanket, and the vast, brilliant blue sky. The thought alone made his heart beat a little faster. One sunny afternoon, as Timo was gazing at the hill, he shared his dream with his friends, a speedy rabbit, a clever squirrel, and a chatty bluebird. "I'm going to climb to the top of that hill," Timo announced, his voice filled with hopeful excitement. But his friends didn't share his enthusiasm. The rabbit twitched his nose and chuckled. "You, Timo, how could you possibly get there? The path is steep and winding, and you—" "Well, you're so slow," the squirrel, busy burying an acorn, chattered. "He's right. It would take you forever. Why not stay here where it's safe and comfortable?" The bluebird chirped from a branch above. "It's a lovely dream, Timo, but perhaps it's just a dream." Their words felt like little pebbles being thrown at his shell. A wave of sadness washed over Timo. He looked at his short legs and his heavy shell. Maybe they were right. Maybe he was just a slow little turtle who was meant to stay on the forest floor. He lowered his head, and the bright dream of the hilltop suddenly seemed very far away and impossible. But as the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Timo looked at the hill one last time. A spark of defiance flickered within him. Was he really going to let their words stop him? "No," he whispered to himself. "I may be slow, but my dream is big. And I refuse to give up before I've even tried." That night, Timo couldn't sleep. He was filled with a mix of fear and determination. The next morning, as the first rays of sunlight pierced through the mist, Timo made a decision. He packed a small lunch of his favorite tender leaves, took a deep breath, and set off towards the base of the hill. His journey had begun. The first part of the path was gentle, winding through a field of wildflowers. Timo felt a surge of optimism. "This isn't so bad," he thought, but soon the ground started to slope upwards. The smooth dirt path turned into a rocky trail, and every step became a conscious effort. His short legs ached, and his shell felt heavier than ever before. He had to stop often to catch his breath, watching as butterflies and bees flitted past him with ease. Days turned into a week. Every morning, Timo would wake up with the sun and start walking little by little. He would move forward, one slow, deliberate step at a time. Sometimes loose gravel would cause him to slip, and he'd slide back a few feet, losing precious ground he had worked so hard to gain. Frustration would bubble up inside him. Once, a sudden rainstorm turned the path into a muddy river. He slipped and tumbled, rolling over and over until he landed on his back, his legs wiggling helplessly in the air. Lying there with the cold rain soaking him, Timo felt a profound sense of despair. He wanted to give up. The voices of his friends echoed in his head. "You're too slow. It's impossible." Tears welled up in his eyes. He thought about his comfortable home by the pond, the sweet clover, and the easy life he had left behind. Maybe they were right, he thought. Maybe this is where my journey ends. But then, as he lay there, he looked up and saw a tiny, stubborn weed growing out of a crack in a rock. It was bent and battered by the rain, yet it held on, reaching for the sky. Seeing that little plant's resilience sparked something in Timo. He remembered his dream. He remembered the promise he made to himself. "I have to keep going," he said aloud, his voice shaky but firm, "even if it's slow. If I stop now, I'll never know what the view is like. If I stop now, I'll never get there." With a grunt and a mighty heave, Timo rocked himself back and forth until he finally managed to flip back onto his feet. He was covered in mud, and every muscle ached, but the fire in his heart was burning brighter than ever. He took another step, and then another. He was slower than before, but he was moving forward. Day after day, week after week, Timo continued his climb. He learned to navigate the treacherous path, finding footholds in the rocks and bracing himself against the wind. He met other creatures on his journey, a wise old badger who gave him a drink of water, a family of mountain goats who leaped effortlessly past him, offering words of encouragement. "Keep going, little one. You're closer than you think." The air grew thinner, and the trees became scarcer, replaced by rugged stone and hardy moss. Timo was exhausted, but he was also filled with a new kind of strength. He wasn't just climbing a hill anymore. He was conquering his own doubts and fears. And then, one afternoon, after a long, arduous journey that felt like a lifetime, he took a step and found that there was no more up to climb. He had reached it. He was standing on the very top of the hill. Timo slowly lifted his head and looked around. It was more beautiful than anything he had ever imagined. The sky was a vast, endless dome of the purest blue. Below him, the green forest stretched out like a magnificent carpet, and the river he knew so well was a sparkling thread weaving through it. He could see tiny birds soaring on the wind far below him. A gentle breeze cooled his tired face, and the whole world seemed to be quiet, peaceful, and perfect. He had done it. He had actually done it. A feeling of pure, overwhelming joy filled his entire being. It felt amazing. Down in the forest, his friends had been watching his slow progress. They had seen his tiny shape moving inch by inch up the hillside. When they saw him finally appear on the summit, a tiny silhouette against the big sky, they fell silent. The rabbit, the squirrel, and the bluebird were all stunned. They couldn't believe their eyes. When Timo finally returned to the forest floor, his steps were still slow, but he walked with a new confidence. His friends rushed to greet him. "Timo, you did it!" the rabbit exclaimed, his voice full of awe. "We're so sorry we laughed at you." "We were wrong to underestimate you," added the squirrel, looking genuinely ashamed. The bluebird landed on his shell and chirped, "You may be slow, Timo, but your spirit is truly extraordinary. You've shown us what it means to be strong." Timo smiled, a warm, genuine smile. "It's okay," he said. "I just knew I had to try." And that, my friends, is the story of Timo the turtle. It reminds us that it doesn't matter how fast or slow we go, as long as we don't stop. Big dreams often require patience and persistent effort. So, whatever your hill is, whatever your dream may be, don't let anyone tell you it's impossible. Just keep taking that next step, and one day you'll find yourself standing at the top, enjoying the incredible view. Thank you so much for listening today. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales that inspire and uplift. Until next time, keep dreaming and keep climbing. Bye for now.